Good morning, everyone. Hello, and welcome to this morning's Speakers for Schools session. Thank you for tuning in and joining us. Hopefully, you're feeling ready today and are in the mood for some science. So, we have a really interesting session today, and I'll get onto that in just a little bit. But first, we have some housekeeping to do. So, as usual, we do have a live Q&A, which you should find on your screens. Now, depending what device you're using, you may find you have to scroll down a little bit to be able to see our live Q&A box, but it is there, and we do encourage you to submit as many questions as we like. Please do keep an eye out towards the end of the session, as a feedback poll will go live. This is a chance for you to feedback a little bit and tell us on how you found today's session. So when you see that, please do give it a complete and let us know. Now, if you find yourself having any sort of issues or anything like that, do also let us know via that Q&A box, and one of our moderators can be on hand to help. As usual, today's session will last for roughly around about 45 minutes and will include a presentation from our speaker before we later move on to that student Q&A. Now, on to the most exciting bit. I'm really excited for today's session. It's really good. We're working with Indu. You may have heard of them, as we have done a couple of previous sessions, which you can find on our library of videos if you haven't seen those, all around different subjects from branding and PR to the business and the skincare industry. Gaia's also given a different scientific talk on other elements as well, so it might be worth looking out for that one if you're interested. So today's talk, again, is back with the lovely Gaia, who's the head of product department at Indu, who's going to talk to us about the science behind skincare. So we're really excited. So everybody, please welcome Gaia.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Charlie.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited for the presentation today, and I'll kind of get out your way and hand straight over. So best of luck.
All right, good morning. So today we're going to talk about skincare science. As Charlie mentioned, I am head of product development at Indu. So what is in my department is developing all the formulations, making sure that they're tested, compliant, and they work with the packaging that we select. So we'll get into it. So one of the most important questions that we need to answer is how important is science when developing a new product? And actually, science is probably the most important thing that we need to consider when developing a cosmetic product. A cosmetic product is not just the finished goods that you buy from a shelf in store or online, but it's made of three main parts, which are ingredients, formula, and packaging. All of them go through all sorts of scientific development before they get on shelf. And I wanted to just show you here quickly what branches of science we touch when we develop a new product. So of course, the main one would be chemistry. And there are three main branches within chemistry that we touch upon. Organic, which understand the structure of the ingredient. Physical, so the interaction between different ingredients, and analytical, so what we use during quality control. That branch of chemistry helps us to detect impurities and also to verify concentration. So what is the percentage of each ingredient in a formula? We go on to biochemistry, which looks at how ingredients interact with a biological system. So how does it act on the skin? What does it do? And then we go into regulatory science, which is it's a very broad branch of science. It makes sure that the formulation is compliant to regulations around the world, making sure that we don't use banned ingredients or restricted ingredients. We make sure that the labeling of a product is compliant and everything is there on the finished product. Rheology is another branch of science that is very interesting, more on packaging than on formulation and ingredient, but it basically looks at the way different packaging materials react over time. in production, but also with the product. Toxicology is another area of science that evaluates how an ingredient or a formulation is potentially irritating for the skin. It contains allergens, so it might have an allergenic potential, and the longer-term effect of the product or on the or of the ingredients. And it's used to do risk and safety assessment. So every product before is being put on the market, it needs to go through a toxicologist that looks at the formulation, breaks it down, and analyzes any potential for reaction and irritations. Microbiology, that is essential to look at how the preservative system within a formulation is working. So your formula is not going to last a long time if you don't put a system in place within the formulation that makes sure that it lasts for a long time on shelf. Material science, that is more of the sensorial part of the development of a product, which makes sure that the texture, the sensory attributes, and the delivery system feels. And then finally, dermatology. So dermatology is a medical study of the skin. So how does it react on the skin? Does it solve any condition? But that is very important because we test all of the products dermatologically to make sure that it actually doesn't have any effects on the skin, any negative effect on the skin. But also we test the formulations to make sure that what we claim on pack actually happens on the skin. Something that is very important that is not mentioned on this, but we're going to talk about it at the end of the presentation, is that there is a branch of science called cosmetic science, which is the study of formulations based on claims that you want to make on product. But we'll touch upon that later on. Why is it important to understand the science behind the product? Because not just as a scientist, but also as a consumer, you want to make better decisions for yourself. So you want to make smarter product choices. You want to know about science because you want to avoid wasting your money on products and ingredients that actually don't work for you or that are not suitable for you. You want to be able to determine whether you see on social media is true or false. We are surrounded by stimuli every day. So we want to make sure to, debunk some of the myths around the products that we use. We also want to feel more in control of your skin. So you want to make sure that what you buy, what you purchase, what you invest your money on, it's going to do good things to you. And then one of the things that is very important is that every product you buy or you see on shelf has been developed for, millions of people. But every skin is unique. So what brands have to do is really be conscious about the fact that when you develop a product, you just don't develop it for one person or one specific need, but it's potentially going to be sold all over the world. So you sort of need to make sure that everything works for as many people as possible. We're just going to break down quickly the anatomy of a skincare product. So how a skincare product is made, essentially. There are three main parts, and one the main part is called vehicle or base. And usually when you look at ingredients lists on products, you will see at the very top of the list water or some sort of oils, and that is the way the product is essentially created. So it's the main ingredient in the product that will help support the rest of the formulation. You will then have a list of functional ingredients that keep the formula together, like emulsifiers. They hold the product safe and free from contaminants, so preservatives. And then you have texturizing agents, which make sure that the final product is a pleasure to use, has a nice texture, a nice feel on the skin. And then you have the active ingredients. So I call them the star of a formulation, which is really what is going to deliver the results. So, for example, if you're looking for a moisturizing product, then glycerin and oils are going to do the job. If you want a hydrating product, then you will look for hyaluronic acid or snow mushroom, and so on and so forth. So you have really three main parts within a formulation that helps to deliver the final results. Not all formulations are the same. There's a lot of different ways, to formulate a product, and depending on the final effect that we want to have, you will have different formulation bases. I put here the main ones to give you a little bit of flavor as to what a formulation can be. Starting from the lightest. Water-based formulations are really, really light. They are lightweight and refreshing on the skin, and they're usually used for toners and gel formulas. We then have emulsions, which are mainly made by two phases, two parts of a formulation, and they're held together by what we call emulsifier that I talked about very lightly before. And there are two ways to formulate emulsions. One is oil in water, and they're usually used for lighter texture, where oil is trapped inside of water. And you can find oil in water emulsions in lotions and serums. Or there are ways to formulate emulsions for richer textures that are more nourishing, where water is trapped in oil, and it's called water in oil. And they're usually used for creamier textures, night creams, creams to balms, where you really feel that richness and moisturization on the skin. Anhydrous is a very interesting word, comes from Greek, and it's made of two parts, an, which means without, and hydro, which water. So those are formulations that have no water inside. They will be very rich, quite oily and balmy on the skin, and they are usually longer lasting formulations because water, as we might know, from our science studies, carries bacteria, or can be a way where bacteria comes within a formula, while anhydrous formulations, because they don't have water, they will keep that risk away. And there can be two ways to develop an anhydrous formula. One are oils, so oil-based formulations, which are rich, emollient, they're slower absorbing, they really have that sense of moisturization. And you can find oils, formulations in cleansing oils, facial oils, body oils, so anything that really delivers that sort of moisturization on the skin. Or otherwise, you can find solids or semi-solids, and they use oils, waxes, butters, or powders to have that solid or semi-solid look. And you can find those in lip balms, all sorts of stick products, and balm cleansers. I have put another category of products that is a little bit of a cross category. So you can find foams or foaming products across water-based emulsions and anhydrous. But it's interesting because you will hear many times when looking at a formulation about surfactants. So surfactants, what they do is basically they lift stuff off your face, off of the skin, and it helps to cleanse your face. So it's an interesting one because it's a similar category but completely different in the way that they're formulated. In the same way that formulations are not all the same, also ingredients are not all the same, and the way that the ingredients come. The nature of ingredients will impact the way that will be used within formulations. So we are going to go through some of them. So liquids are water and glycerin. So some of the those are two of the main ingredients that come within liquid form. We have powders, so ascorbic acid, zinc oxide are in powder form. Oils, so sunflower oil, squalane, come in oils, so they will be used in oils or oil phase formulas. Solids or semi-solids, shea butter, beeswax are two of the example of some of these ingredients that come in solid format. We also have some very funky ingredients that are called encapsulated. As you can see in this little picture, it does add to the look of the final formulation. So it has an aesthetic purpose, but also it's used to protect the ingredient from the formula itself. The delivery system is going to be completely different. And a couple of the examples I can give is for vitamin C, usually encapsulated in, orange or red in capsules or pigments. So when you see color changing products, they usually have encapsulated pigments that break under the pressure of your fingers. And then there's pastes like kaolin clay. If you buy a clay mask, then clay is going to be one of the main ingredients, and clay can come either in powder form or in paste form. And not all ingredients work in the same way, because in the same way that they come in different formats, they have to be used in very different ways. And two of the main categories of ingredients are water soluble and oil soluble. So water soluble means that they will dissolve in water, which means that they can be added to a lightweight formulation like a gel or a serum, or they can be infused in the water phase of an emulsion. So as we saw earlier, emulsions are formulations that are made by two phases, and they're held together by an emulsifier. So hyaluronic acid, for example, is one of the water-soluble ingredients, and it will be used in the water phase of an emulsion or in a water-based formulation. That's why when you buy a hyaluronic acid serum, it usually comes in a very watery texture. That's because it doesn't work well with oils. It can actually not be used within an oil formulation. Oil soluble means that they dissolve in oils. So it means that they can appear in waterless formulas, like we said before, or they can appear in the oil phase of an emulsion. And one of the examples that I can talk to you about is ceramides. So ceramides are oil soluble, and they work really well in oil formulations. Where do ingredients come from? So there's four main categories of ingredients origins that we can talk about. One is botanicals, always referred as natural, but actually natural is a term that we will talk about later. Natural, just means that comes from nature. And when we think about botanicals, these come from plants, flowers, fruits specifically. They tend to be quite gentle, but they are super efficacious. So this is actually what we choose within the brand to use as our priority number one ingredients, because they really deliver effects without being too aggressive on the skin. And a couple of examples I've put here are rosehip oil, which nourishes and brightens the skin, and chamomile, which reduces redness and irritation. Synthetic ingredients are created in lab. They are usually more stable than botanicals because they are created within their own formulation, and they are really consistent, and they're usually more effective than botanical ingredients in the sense that they deliver much more emphasized effects. So if you think about, anti-aging products, which you guys should not be using, they're usually synthetics because they are specifically created to target specific issues. And a couple of the products or ingredients that I wanted to mention are silicons that deliver a nice and smooth texture. They create a soft finish. They make sure that products feel really nice on your face. And preservatives like phenoxyethanol, they are synthetic ingredients, and preservatives specifically, they keep products safe from bacteria. We talked about it at the very beginning of this presentation today. There's a fairly recent way to create ingredients, which is biotech, which are made using biological processes like fermentation, enzymes, or microbes, and they're usually used to replicate rare or endangered ingredients more sustainably. So what they do is take the essence of a botanical ingredient that might be that the world might be short of, and recreate that in the lab so that we don't use up the natural resources, but we recreate them in a laboratory. So it's a great way to, first of all, innovate, and second of all, also preserve some species. And one of the things that I wanted to mention is lab-grown squalane. So originally from sharks, so a non-vegan ingredient that was endangering a species, now is made in the lab using sugarcane, for example. So it's suddenly been transformed from a non-vegan animal derivative ingredient to a vegan ingredient, which doesn't have anything anymore from the essence of sharks, which is a great way to innovate. And then the last category I wanted to mention is minerals. So they are extracted from the earth. Of course, they go through chemical processes to be purified and cleaned from everything that anything that can be present in rocks, for example, and transformed into powders or pastes and used in formulations. They're usually used for sun protection or for texture, to create a nice rich texture. You will have probably heard of zinc oxide, which is a physical sunscreen. It's white in color, quite pasty. But it's a very great sunscreen, or kaolin clay, which we've mentioned before, and it's a paste, a green paste. There's other kinds of clays. There's pink clays, green clays, white clays. Kaolin clay specifically has a greenish color, and it's great for mattifying the skin and remove impurities. So I just wanted to mention a couple of ingredients that are great for young people, and I just wanted to mention their mechanism of action. So what does it do on the skin and how does it work? So one of the main ingredients that we all love in cosmetics is glycerin, and we call it the water magnet because it holds onto the water in the air, and it delivers in within the skin. So it's actually a great, very interesting product to use. It's in most formulations, is a cost-effective ingredient that does a lot. So it's not just part of a base formula, so the main structure of the formula, but it's also a very active ingredient on itself. It's called a humectant. So the mechanism of action that I've described, so picking the water up from the air and deliver it in the skin, is the way humectants work. And it's a water-soluble ingredient, so it will go in the water phase of a formula, and it's used mainly in cleansers, moisturizers, and serums. Niacinamide is also one very popular ingredient. We call it the multitasker because niacinamide really does it all. It's good for skin with spots, but it's also good for skins that have redness, and needs a level of bringing some calm back into the skin, and it does help with strengthening the skin barrier. It's also water soluble, and you can find it in serums, toners, and moisturizers. Hyaluronic acid, very, very popular. You find it in all sorts of hydrating ingredients, hydrating formulas. It's a skin plumper in the way that when it is absorbed into the skin, it expands, and it makes your skin looks nice and plump and hydrated. It's also water soluble, very lightweight, and it can be found in serums, moisturizers, and sheet masks. Salicylic acid, also known to be called BHA, so they are basically the same thing. And we call it the pore unclogger because it helps to exfoliate the pores, making sure that they are deeply cleansed, breaking down the excess sebum or the oils on the skin, and it removes quite nicely dead skin cells. So by keeping your skin very clean, it helps to reduce the appearance of blemishes and spots and blackheads. This is an oil-soluble ingredient, so it will appear maybe in slightly richer textures. And it's great for spot treatments, cleansers, especially clarifying cleansers, and exfoliating toners. Another great ingredient for blemish-prone skin or skin that has, presence of blackheads and excess oil is zinc PCA. So this is an oil balancer, what we call, and it helps to regulate the sebum. It's made by two parts, so zinc and PCA. Zinc regulates the sebum, and PCA helps to hydrate and soothe the hydration. So irritation, sorry. So while zinc does the job to reduce the oil, PCA comes in and helps the skin to remain nice and balanced. And this is a water-soluble ingredient, and it can be found in lightweight serum, gels, and spot treatments. And ceramides. Ceramides are very important, especially for sensitive skin or skin that can get quite irritated. And it's a barrier builder. They are lipids, so oil soluble, and they reinforce the link between cells. So it does strengthen the skin barrier. And those are common ingredients in creams and balms. How is a cosmetic product formulated? So you have to imagine that a formula is basically a recipe. So if anybody likes to cook, they will know exactly how to follow recipes. And in the same way, cosmetic scientists will follow a recipe or a formula to create their own products. Here on the right side of the screen, you will see a short Inky list, which is actually one of our products. This is the formula for our brow gel. It was the simplest formula to show you guys, so I decided to show you here. And Inky will show exactly what order and what the percentage of inclusion within a formulation. So the main ingredients of this formula is water, and then we've got Cicerate 30, which is an emulsifier, glycerin, which we said is an humectant, and so on and so forth. And these ingredients are included in the formulation at different phases. So here, unfortunately, it's quite small, but I wanted to really showcase the way the formula is made. And you will have a phase A, which will include some of the ingredients. It's stirred and heat up, and then there will be a phase B included, added to phase A. Phase A and phase B will be stirred, and then there will be a phase C added into the formula. So as you can see, is a proper recipe to be followed step by step, and the finished product will come to life. I just wanted to show a little bit of what you need as a young person. Of course, the science behind cosmetics is so broad, that it can be quite confusing for people to detect what they actually really need. But as a young person, you will only need to cleanse your skin with a good cleanser. And depending what kind of skin you have, you may want to select a cleanser that has specific ingredients. Some of the ingredients that we mentioned today are very good for young skin. So please cleanse your face. You need to feed your skin, so use a moisturizer. And again, you can use any moisturizer that contains the ingredients that you actually need. And then what you need to do is protect your skin. So, for example, with a mineral with a mineral sunscreen, which contains zinc oxide, which we mentioned today. That's a great alternative. Otherwise, there's all sorts of chemical filters out there that are great for lighter weight textures that are going to help your skin to be protected from the sun and the effects of UVA and UVB rays. I just wanted to show you here, in case you want to add any products to your simplest routine, which is made of 3 steps: cleanse, moisturize, and protect. If you want to add any other products because you have tested them and you've liked the effect that they have on your skin, as long as they have the right ingredients, I just wanted to showcase here how to layer them. So essentially, the rule of thumb is from liquid to solid. So from the lightest weight texture to the heaviest. That's the same way you would layer your products. So on the top, you will see wash-off products. So they are products that are used and washed off. So they are not meant to be kept on your face, like foaming and wash-off products, cleansers, for example. And pastes or creams. Scrubs and masks are sort of like a second step up in the wash-off section. Otherwise, you have leave-on products. So those are meant to be left on your skin, and they are formulated for that purpose. And you go from liquids to fluids to gel to creams to oils to balms, pastes, and ointment. So if you do have multiple products in your cabinet and you don't know how to layer them, just go from the lightest weight to the heaviest, and that's how you know how to layer these products. Smart skincare habits. So of course, when you do think about the science of a product, you also need to think about your consumers and how to make sure that they don't overdo it. So as a skincare scientist, we really need to think about that. We can't just create products for the sake of. So some of the advice that I want to give you is to avoid overlayering. I know that I've just mentioned, the way you can layer different products, but really just make sure that you don't overdo it. You don't need all of these steps. You sometimes need a little boost. So that's how you would apply, the rules that I've explained earlier, but avoid overdoing it. Choose based on function and not trends. So we are subjected to all sorts of content and pieces of advice from social media, but that doesn't mean that all products are good for us. So just look at yourself in the mirror, look at what your skin is telling you, and decide what products or what ingredients to choose from, depending what your skin needs and not what the TikTok trends tells you. Steer away from ingredients that your skin doesn't need, because that might create more issues than benefits. So, make sure that you keep it nice and tight. That will save you money and will preserve your skin from future reactions. And then don't invest in cleansers because cleansers are, probably the most important step in your routine, because it helps to keep your skin nice and cleansed, but you wash it off. So a good cleanser will not cost a lot of money, and it's going to get washed away. So I feel like you should know that cleansers should be probably the cheapest step in your routine. And don't waste money on fancy serums that you don't need. So make sure that if you do like a serum and you want, some hyaluronic acid, niacinamide, and other gentle ingredients, you do so. But don't invest in, fancy serums that at this stage in your life you don't really need. I wanted to bust some myths because, of course, social media, in the same way that they content, recommends products to us, also gives us information that sometimes isn't accurate. So, for example, natural ingredients are safer or better for you than chemicals. Actually, false. And I would say that all ingredients, even the ones that are derived from nature, go through a chemical process. So they are also considered chemicals. Tingling means that it's working. Well, that's also false, because sometimes when your skin tingles after using a product, that means that it might be having a negative reaction. So you might want to wash it off and discontinue using it. Higher percentage of ingredients means that the product will work better. This is very false, because active ingredients are tested at different percentages of inclusion within the formulation. So if you look at hyaluronic acid, for example, some forms of hyaluronic acid are tested at 0.1% up to 2%. So a product that says, it contains 8% hyaluronic acid might actually not be more beneficial. It might be wasting your money. Formulas ingredients should be included in formulations at the rate or at the percentage they've been tested for. Anything above that is just a waste of an ingredient. Another myth is that if it works for my friend, it will work for me. That's also very false. Everyone's skin is different. So what works for you might not work for me. And products are there, as we said, to cater to millions of people, but everyone has to sort of test and try what products work for them, because skin may also react to some products that my friends use. Synthetic equal harmful and toxic. Very false. As we said, synthetic are a category of ingredients that, just like botanicals and minerals and biotech, are all tested before they are included in formulations. They all are assessed, they are tested at great length. So synthetic is actually not toxic for you if used at the right percentage, which this is considered when developing a new formulation. And you need a 10-step skincare routine. We all see this content about, these very lengthy routines, but that doesn't mean that they are needed. As we said, 3 are the main steps that you need to take: cleanse your face, moisturize, and protect. And those are the basis, your foundation. And then, as we said, if you need a booster, that's totally fine, but more isn't better. Sometimes overloading your skin with ingredients that you don't need can do more harm than bring you benefit. And I just wanted to mention our Indu 101, which is an area of our website where we cover all sorts of different topics, from skincare, makeup, culture, how do I do it. So if you want to know more, some of this content is also created by me or informed by the NPD department at Indu. So it's a great way for you guys to get involved and check some ingredients and other interesting bits. And I also wanted to mention as we are coming to the end of the presentation, that as a brand, we are for teens, and we create with teens. We have a committee of 200, probably around 250 teens at this moment in time, that come from all over the world. You can get involved into also all sorts of activities, as well as helping us to develop products that are good for teens. So if you want to join, you can scan this QR code, or we can send a follow-up email with the link, and you can be part of this great project.
All right, thank you. That was a great presentation, and I really love that you touch on some things, because I do think in the world of social media, it's difficult to remove yourself and remember that, if you're like 16, 18, your skincare is going to be very different to when you're, in your late 20s. Like that's a huge amount of time, 10 years, and you don't need all the stuff that you do that when you're getting a bit older. So yeah, loved that, and it was really interesting to hear about the different ingredients. So we have some questions. We can't get through too many, but please do keep submitting those, and we'll go through as many as we can in the rest of our time. Jump straight in then with our first question, which has come from Common Free School, which is, what A-level subjects or degree routes do you recommend to kind of go into cosmetic
Absolutely, yes. So
science?
there's three main routes. Sorry, my answer is going to be a little long-winded, but the main route is to definitely do your double, triple science GCSEs. That will take you to your A levels. If you want to get into chemistry or cosmetic science, that's going to be sort of mandatory. Although not everybody loves science, we know that that's the route that you need to take. And yeah, A level science, and then you can get into cosmetic science directly. So there's a couple of universities that I know of in London, for example, the University of Arts and the London Metropolitan University have cosmetic science degrees. Or otherwise, if you want to go a different route, you can get into, chemistry, chemical engineering, biology, or pharmaceutical. Those will all give great foundations within science that can take you then to pursue a career in cosmetic science. There's also science diplomas, cosmetic science diplomas that can help with that. For example, the SCS is one of the main in the UK that will take you to get your diploma, and it's you will be qualified to get into cosmetic formulations.
And as sort of a follow-up to that question then, I imagine you took a degree and you have a degree, and then do you use the science that you studied in that degree? Do you find yourself using that knowledge?
Actually, I do have I have a degree in a completely different area. So I went to uni for English literature, which completely different. The way I got into cosmetics was to start working for a cosmetic manufacturing company. I come from Italy, as you may hear from my accent. And in northern Italy specifically, there's a big industry connected to cosmetics, beauty, specifically makeup. So what I started doing was working within the customer service department, which put me in a position where I could see the entire supply chain of a cosmetic product being made. And then I transitioned into the product development department of the company, which allowed me to get to work with our laboratory and get to know more about the science. So now I've been working within the industry for 10 plus years, and I've gotten my knowledge from the experience that I've collected over the years in different departments. So that's another way that you can get involved, but that will not take you straight to the laboratory. You will need a qualification to get to formulate. I actually don't formulate myself. We do have laboratories that will formulate according to briefs that I create. So I will basically give a brief to the formulator, and they will come back with proposals, and I will tweak them based on the finished product that we want to formulate.
Okay, that's great. That links very well with this question, which is how do you keep up with skincare trends, and are they important?
They are important, but as I said, I think it's good for at every stage of your life to understand what is really needed by your skin. So what I do is just keeping myself informed. There's a lot of trade industry events, like trade shows that will showcase what the industry is looking at. There will be ingredients manufacturers and formulation manufacturers that will explain what they've been working on, what are the latest innovations, and how they will be applied, how they can be applied to a new product. Of course, social media is a great one to see, what's out there and how to apply the social media knowledge with real innovation and science.
Great, which is really sort of interesting, and it is about that
It
balance,
is.
right? So good to hear. We're heading towards the end of the time, so our final question, I'm gonna go for this one, which is what's the difference between active and inactive ingredients, and which is most
Well, actually,
important?
as I explained at the beginning of the presentation, the formulas are made of three parts. Your base formulation, your functional ingredients, and your active ingredients, and they're all as important within a formula, because if you don't have a strong base formula, then your active ingredients are not going to work. If you don't have great functional products that hold the formula together, your active ingredients are not going to be able to be carried from the product to your skin. So actually, active and inactive ingredients are as important, really. If you don't have a strong foundation, you're not going to get the results that you want.
Great. I'm going to ask, we've had a couple more in. Sorry, I've just seen a few. I want to just get a couple because I think these are really quite good and relevant, especially what we see on kind of social media. So someone's asked about what do you think about the younger generation using retinol? I know there's a huge hype around retinol
Absolutely.
specifically at the
So
moment.
retinol is a great ingredient for if you're in your 30s. So as a skin timeline, when you are a teenager, but also up to your late 20s, your skin already has all of the elements to keep it looking youthful. The main ingredients are collagen, elastin, and hydration. And your skin at your age is able to reproduce those elements really fast and keep hydration in the skin without any help. When you do turn, sort of 25 and late 20s, then your skin will start depleting the production of collagen and elastin, and it's going to hold on to hydration a little bit in a slower way. So that's when you need to start implementing more steps. You add your little retinoids, a very low percentage, a little bit of vitamin C, but you don't have to worry about it until you are in your late 20s. Retinol used on young skin may irritate your skin in the short term, but also it can create issues in the future. There's not enough research to say what retinol can do to your skin, but as a rule of thumb, I would say avoid it until you really need it, which is when you turn 28, 29. Don't invest in ingredients that you don't need at this point in time. It's really wasting your money and probably creating a lot of issues that we don't know about yet.
Okay, great. And sorry, final one, and then we've got all our questions sort of answered, which is someone's asked the difference between a cleanser and oil cleansers, and are oil cleansers worth it, or do they just clog the
Actually,
skin?
oil cleansers are really great. So the way I would explain it is I'm a big promoter of double cleansing. And your first step of cleansing should also be an oil-based or an oilier texture, because it does remove your oils. It's called cleansing by affinity. So oil removes oil. And then with your second cleanse, which is going to be more of a lighter weight texture or a water-based cleanser, then you will remove whatever is left on your skin from the oil-based cleanse, and remove and prep your skin for moisturizers.
Perfect. Great. With that, is there anything you'd like to say today as we sort of wrap up today's session
No,
and
thank you
say
so much
goodbye?
for having me. I hope it was an interesting session. Probably a little bit overdone. I am oversharer. I'm an oversharer by nature. So I hope it wasn't too, it was clear and not too boring.
No, really interesting. Definitely felt like I've learned some good stuff, and I will be sure to share this recording and share the one previously as well for anyone who would like even more information, some slightly different topics as well. So thank you for joining us, Gaia. It's been great having you.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. All right, everyone. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for today. A feedback poll has now gone live, so do let us know how you found today's session, and we will share all your feedback and thoughts with Indu and Gaia. Hopefully, we'll see you next time, and hopefully, you have a wonderful, wonderful day. Bye for now.